Welcome to episode 10 of Founders Only. This is your host, Ron Sir Young, of the founder and CEO of Podcast Network Asia, and also the host of the Hustleshare podcast. And again, we're back. Apologies if it took me a while to record a Founders Only episode. I've been running around the place, trying to hustle and whatnot. But again, today we're super excited because we're back and we have a very, very special guest. Her name is Lee Gonzalez of Noneaway. If that name rings a bell with you, she used to be the CEO of Pick A Roo and Honestbee and Viber here in the Philippines and whatnot. So she's been an industry veteran trying to solve a lot of startup problems from the get-go. But today, she will talk to us about her brand new startup. But before that, she'll also give us a recap of what happened, what led her to grow Pick A Roo during the pandemic, what led her to eventually call it quits and say, all right, I'm out. And then she took a rest. She will also talk about what she did after leaving Pick A Roo and why she decided to create a brand new startup with her amazing co-founders. You'll be blown away of who her co-founders are going to be. But before we start this episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because this is a YouTube channel. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to smash that follow or subscribe button. And let's begin this episode. Founders Only is brought to you by PayMongo, the payment gateway for business growth. PayMongo allows your business to accept online payments from customers through Visa, MasterCard, GCash, GrabPay, Maya, online banking, buy now, pay later, and many more, all with just one online platform. Sign up for free at paymongo.com. Also brought to you by Capita. Capita's software solution seeks to automate the equity management process for startups, including workflows around cap tables, ESOPs, due diligence, and transactions. Sign up at capita.com to get started with your digital cap table, ESOP, award granting, and all things equity. Free for companies with under 25 stakeholders. And brought to you by GoTime Bank. GoTime Bank is owned by the Gokongwei Group, the same companies that brought you brands you love, like Cebu Pacific, Robinsons, True Value, Toys R Us, South Star Drug, and many more. GoTime Bank makes next-level banking a breeze with its convenient account opening process. It takes less than 5 minutes to get started via the app. Plus, get your GoTime Bank Visa card at one of their kiosks for free. Download the GoTime Bank app today and experience the next level of banking. You may visit www.gotimebank.com.ph for more details. And SeekCap. SeekCap is a lending platform powered by UBX Philippines. With SeekCap, you can easily apply for a loan from 5,000 pesos up to 1 million pesos from the comfort of your home nationwide. Visit www.seekcap.ph, sign up, and apply for a loan now. That's www.seekcap.ph. Take your business to new heights by seeking capital with SeekCap. Welcome to episode 10 of Founders Only. We are officially back. And apologies if it took forever for me to record. I've been bouncing around the world the past few weeks. I'm sorry, right? Literally, when we recorded the last episode with RT Lopez, that was the day before I left. And the past couple of weeks has just been a blur. But again, we've been wanting to get this guest for a while. But before I start, shout out first to PayMongo for lending us this amazing environment. Shout out to Jojo Malolos and Luisia and the rest of the PayMongo team for lending us their office today. But before I get carried away, we need to welcome our amazing guest today. Let's welcome to the show, Miss Crystal Lee Gonzalez of Noneaway. Whoop, whoop. Welcome to the show, Crystal.
Finally, I made it.
Yes. Thank you for making the time. And again, we are back in the city. We're both Saudis now, right?
Oh, you're Saudi.
I'm in Etiba. I'm in Cavite.
Okay.
So how are you?
Really good.
Nice.
So major life change. I moved to the south.
Yep.
A year ago. It was best decision ever. Life changing. And I've been just really enjoying life. I think. Motherhood. I'm now a mom of three. I think last time we spoke, I wasn't pregnant yet.
What?
Yeah, so yeah. I just had 2 kids last time. Like, I think that was either pandemic or early pandemic.
Wow.
I didn't know I was going to have a 3rd child. So I just had 2 that time, which I thought was a handful. Now I have 3.
Yeah. Wow.
And just, I think, enjoying being present. So that's where I'm at now. I think I've never been this present
Love it.
than ever.
Yeah.
I'm now 39 years old, and I think it's something I really wanted to do before I turned 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. So the key topic of what we're going to be discussing today is, again, of course, you're one of the super female founders. Again, Mel Nava and Carbs Bayombong was giving you flowers during their episode and whatnot. But
Siyempre,
again,
friend ko si Mel. So,
no, in fairness, when people do that, they really mean it. Because they can only choose five.
thank you.
Why were you part of the five, right? And all that. So they really admire your work. But one of the things that's really profound about your story is you came from, of course, from multiple startups as an operator. And now you have your brand new startup, which again, she's announcing on this show first in public, which is Noneaway, right? But that's going to be the gist of what we're going to be talking to. But before we start, I want to go further back, similar to how we did in the time machine before. The last time I had you, you were still running Pick A Roo, right? My
Yeah.
wife was raving about your app. She loves it till now. It's like, oh man, she's not running it anymore. So her love a little bit diminished, but but again, Pick A Roo was the thing. For you guys to understand Crystal's background, right? You can just go back. We'll put it in the episode description box so that your OG episode is there. But now we're gonna continue off of that. After Pick A Roo, walk us through the last time we had you and what happened to why you decided to leave Pick A Roo.
So I think last time we were about to launch Pick A Roo. I'm not sure if I launched it yet, like in our last talk. I think it was also, you were one of the first ones I talked to before launching. Maybe we were gonna launch like maybe 2 weeks a little before the official launch, and then I think we had a talk, and I think it was pandemic already that time, but nobody knew yet it was gonna be lockdown for life, kind of like for at least a couple of
2
years, right? So that time was a very different time. Even personally, I had 2 kids. I was excited. I was really excited. And I had my, I think most people knew I brought in my team also from Honest Pay. We felt like we had unfinished business, coming from that. And we wanted to not just continue working together, but we really felt like, even on the service side, we wanted to do so much that we couldn't do before, versus in Pick A Roo, where I was co-founding it. Our founder is very supportive, and really got to give it with everything we've got, right? From everything we learned from Honest Bee to all our ideas, and then it was just timing that the pandemic happened, unfortunately, but for us, it was good timing. So that's what happened. Like, we didn't expect how fast and how big it was gonna get, because nobody really knew what the pandemic was about. I think that time we were just locked down for a couple of months, still hoping things would change. And so we launched at the right time. We launched exactly around August, which was like the peak of the pandemic when it was getting real.
You did it on Ghost Month pala.
Yeah, and actually, I remember it was like right smack before the Ghost Month, the date, because there's an exact date, right?
Okay.
So we wanted to make sure, that's why I remember it's 8/8, because we wanted to make sure we didn't
So it's swerte also.
catch yes, and plus it's 8/8. I have a thing for that, so it's always 8/8 and all this. So it was supposed to be our MVP, and then we launched. It didn't become the MVP. It became really
Boom.
real and serious and high growth very fast. So it was a very, very good couple of years for us. I would say it made us work harder because the demand was there. It's like really everybody needed the service. And I think like on a personal level, I remember, it was a very good place for me because in the pandemic, I didn't feel like it was a pandemic because we were so busy we were always like thinking, we were, like we had the whole team. I feel like that time, the team were each other's support also. So nobody really felt like at least even for me and, the people I work closely with, we all had each other. Plus we were busy. So I think it kept everybody preoccupied in a more productive manner. And then it turns out same time I was launching Pick A Roo, I was also pregnant with my 3rd child already.
How do you do that?
So the whole time, I remember while we were launching and it was online, we had a media launch online and everything, it was a peak of my morning sickness.
Oh no.
So, and that's the second time it happened because when I was pregnant with Bella, my first child, it was also the peak of when I was launching Viber. And I also remember, and it was first because it was face to face.
Okay.
And we had like 100 media people. It was like a big launch.
And you're throwing parties everywhere.
And yes, that too. It was also the peak of my morning sickness. And I remember like, I was thinking, oh my gosh, will I survive without throwing up in front of 100 media people? And it made me more nauseous. So,
oh my God.
So I was like, oh my gosh, what timing? Like it's happening again where I'm launching something and I'm pregnant. So, but since I've done it before, I guess like, and it was good for me. I think like, usually when you're pregnant and you feel something, if you're busy, you don't feel it as much. So when people ask me, like, how do you do that, right? Like, you're pregnant and it's already difficult. But I feel like being busy and doing something productive actually is good because you're not like so in your head and your body on whatever you're feeling, which is natural to pregnancy. So majority of my, I think, first year of Pick A Roo, it was really, my memory is really just hustling the whole time, plus being pregnant, just really taking it in. Well, I think like on a personal level, I felt so grateful that we had that the timing was perfect. So that went on for 2 years, right? And then I think around 2022, when the world also started opening up, I was a bit late on opening up to the world because after I was pregnant, of course, I gave birth, and I think that time the vaccines were just about to come. And so I think if people were already going out early 2022, I was so late. I think my first even physical appearance face to face was for an investor or for like investor socials or something like that, because it was really necessary. Yeah, and I was so scared even like going in an elevator for the first time after 3 years. I felt like I came from the mountains and went to the city. Like that's exactly how I felt. Like I was so shocked. Like I felt like a caveman. So that for me, so the 3 years for me was like a different life. And then aside from Pick A Roo, I think it was the first time that I got to really also slow down as a person and just really be with my kids, just be home. So I know it affected a lot of people, but me on a personal level, it was a good pause. It was a good reflection. Although I was busy, I still was just home, and a lot of time was saved from traffic and just life outside and the fast-paced life. So that's the 3 years for me from our last talk.
And we'll do a deep dive on that, but I totally agree on the being present part. Because till now, I mean, again, I moved in the South. Predominantly, I was able to buy my mom a house after I sold Chatbot.ph. But when we bought that house, we only used that as like our weekend home.
Yes, like a vacation.
And we'll go there. But during the start of the pandemic, we made the decision that, okay, it's probably going to be best for my family, me and my mom, and my wife, my then fiance. I got married during the pandemic. To just stay there and write it out because there's not much people. But what that also taught me was being present. That like, oh my God, my mom even said, because that's also when she retired right before the end of 2019. In 2020, things happened, right? But she said that before, she'd only, for the longest time, our only opportunity to catch up was breakfast. Sometimes I'm not even there, or dinner. And for the longest time, that was it. Now, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I get to have those moments. And then I realized that, okay, this is what I hustle for are these moments. And I don't want to go back to that lifestyle of playing the what if game.
So true.
Especially if you're raising kids, you miss out on those. All of a sudden, becomes just a blur. Like, hey, you just grew up a year, right? And my mom, I mean, I learned that from her, that she took care of my grandma after she was 99.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So, but then she was working. So the time that she lost,
right?
I'm pretty sure she wished she had was there. And now I got that opportunity. I don't want to go back. I'm hybrid all the way. Okay.
Yeah, I think definitely for me, aside from just the pure time, right, that you got back, or you have, even if you were working, you were hustling on something during the pandemic, I think for me, it really taught me about like how much time I lost
Yes.
before that. Especially with the kids, like seeing how hands-on I was during the pandemic, and how present I was as a mom.
And you can be as productive as ever.
Exactly. In fact, to be honest, I was more productive. I was at my most productive during the pandemic, and not just with work. I was at my healthiest. I was doing acrobatics and yoga.
Wow.
I was doing all the hard poses. I was at my healthiest. I was working out every day.
Yes.
Before 8:30, I'm already done meditating, journaling, working out. I've eaten healthy. I have never eaten breakfast for at least, I don't know, 20 years.
Wow. And you started
I got used to that. I got used to eating healthier, making healthier choices.
Nice.
I didn't take caffeine for almost 3 years.
How?
Even before I got pregnant. Not just because I was pregnant.
How are you able to do that?
I really didn't take any caffeine like 2019. And then pandemic, I started, I like matcha tea. Mostly just tea, like chamomile tea.
My wife does matcha now too.
I loved it. And then I think I started just missing the taste of coffee. I started maybe 2022 already. Late 2022. So I was in my like full Zen mode, I think, in the pandemic. So I felt like I was at my healthiest. I was most present. And I got to compare. I think that's what you were saying, right? It's like suddenly you got to compare. And I feel like for everybody, pandemic is life-changing regardless of what you went through. So some good, for others not so good, right? Especially if you lost someone. I also did lose like one of our closest friends with COVID. But I think if there's anything, my takeaway with the pandemic is that we all have a choice of what kind of life we want to live. There's that one version which is pre-pandemic, the second version which is pandemic, during pandemic.
Extremes.
And extremes, diba? And then after that, I feel like you have a choice of going back to the first option, which is pre-pandemic.
Right.
Some got stuck with pandemic mode, like they just don't want to go back, or they just took it to the next level of pandemic. Some moved to the island, or some moved to El Nido and whatever, right? Palawan. So some took it that level. But I feel like there's a third option, which is a hybrid option of, things you want to take from pre-pandemic and things you learned during the pandemic. So there's like a third version of you, which is like a hybrid option.
And it's your choice.
I feel like we all were given that choice. Personally, now, present day, and this year, 2023, I just chose the hybrid version. With majority, I would say more on option 2, which is a lot of the pandemic. I just couldn't go back anymore to that person and that kind of time spent and
the
rat
hours,
race.
Yeah, exactly. The hours you waste trying to travel, and then, oh my God, you're too tired to do anything when you get home.
Yeah, so I just was not willing to go back to that. I'm grateful for it and the opportunities I got and the blessings, and the outcomes of that kind of life and working that hard and hustling that much. But it's just a personal decision that I made, not just for myself, but for my family, more especially for my kids.
That's amazing. All right. Now, I want to zoom in before we take our first break on two things, right? So, when you did Pick A Roo, right, you were just starting out, it was a pandemic boom. Because there are certain businesses that benefited really through the pandemic. Us, for example. Everyone became a podcaster all of a sudden during the pandemic. The problem now that we see in the podcasting space is the demand or the consumption hours are still there. It's still growing like crazy. But in a world that it's post-pandemic, not everybody can afford to make content and edit content. Those are two different things. This is the easy part. The hard part is when these boys start working on my shit, which nobody wants to do, right? So again, those are the barriers that they have to overcome. But the other thing that I really need to know, and just this also was a very big challenge to me. Pre-pandemic, I lead differently. My brand of leadership was tough love, but I have in the back pocket, I can scold someone intensely face to face. But after that, let's have dinner. I got that. During the pandemic, that intensity The only thing that you see was the Zoom call. And then you don't have that opportunity to make bawi, to show the love after. And that got me to really rough waters in terms of how to lead. And I also didn't know how to navigate that. I want to know, what was the pre-pandemic Crystal and the pandemic Crystal as a leader, as you scaled Pick A Roo? Because at the end of the day, you're the one operating the ship. You're the captain of the ship. Does that scale that you were able to do wouldn't work if you didn't also did it well? And where were there stumble blocks that you had to go through along the way as well as a leader?
Definitely. I think I have a lot to improve on. And I feel like leadership especially, it's like parenting. You always need to learn, get better, improve. Obviously, experience and time. There's no shortcut to that. For some, maybe they're lucky they get it right the first time. But definitely, Viber, honestly, I was super tough. Also because that's
Describe
what
tough.
I
What is
know.
tough Crystal like?
Oh, like bitch.
But again, we don't
Bitchy
wake up.
bitchy, like really a bit like tough, And it's so funny because obviously the people I brought with Pick A Roo are used to that. Meaning they love me for that. They knew that, right?
Same
They're
with
so
me.
used to that because they've seen that.
In PNA, I have like 5 or 6 people that came with me from Chatbot PH. So
Right.
they understand.
They knew.
Right? They even called me Thanos at one point.
Yeah.
Right? Snap you out of existence. But I love them. And they know I'll got their back. But okay, from that point, so you tough love also. So you say AKA bitch.
Yeah.
How
but
did
you're
that
right
translate?
also, like because they had where it's also face to face, and they get to know the, let's say, the mom version of me. So a lot of them even knew my kids and all that. There's like a balance. It's kind of like they understand, why I need to be tough and all that, right? Pandemic though, I was very different because of a number of things. Not connected at all to the pandemic. But what happened with Honesty really also affected me and changed me. It's humbling but also very challenging experience for me because it was a shock. So
And it's outside of your control, a lot of those things.
and that's exactly what it felt like. Like it was out of control. I think post Viber, I already became quite a private person. I really didn't like the being talked about, the attention, everything. And then because of Honesty, then that whole thing got out of proportion, right? And my name was on it. And there was that weird feeling I had on guilt. Like, like how could I have avoided it or prevented it? Like I should have seen it coming, in the like what's going on in the region, stuff like that, like really ate me up like inside. Plus I had a miscarriage in
my God,
2019.
I'm sorry.
Like really like literally a few months apart. I was in Canva already when it happened. And I'm so grateful to Canva and Mel and Cliff because they were so supportive. I learned so much from them as just as humans. Like, like Mel even gave me this 5-minute journal, which changed my life. I started doing it. I do it up to now.
What do you do in a 5-minute journal?
So she gave me this 5-minute journal. It's like a book that you can buy. I think eventually there became very different variations of it, but it's basically journaling and gratefulness. So she gave that to me. I continued it even during the pandemic, which was, I think, helpful overall. And I go back to it. Sometimes I get lost, like let's say 2 to 3 months, I won't do it, and I'll go back to it again. So I try my best to go back. But it's about gratefulness and it's journaling. So you're right. 3 things you're grateful for. It's called 5-minute journal because it just takes 5 minutes. So every day you write 3 things you're grateful for. Whatever it is, can be small thing, can be. And when you're going through something, you'll notice it's very hard to write those 3 things down.
Absolutely.
Because whether you're depressed or anxious or whatever, you
Your
feel
point
like
of view is different.
it's very different, right? So in the beginning, when I tried it, because I was going through something, it was so hard. I kid you not. I could barely write anything. And then there's affirmations. So that's what you do in the day, just that. At the end of the night, before you go to bed or whatever, at the end of your day, you write 3 great things that happened. Yeah. And then anything that you'd like to do better. And so it's a very powerful tool because it prompts you to not just evaluate your day, but it makes you reevaluate your life on a daily level, morning and evening. And I don't know if you believe in this, but me, I really truly believe in it. Especially at night, our thoughts are very powerful. Whatever you think of before you go to bed. And it's very powerful that you've heard people say sometimes that like, like they have a problem at night and then they just sleep on it, and then whether in their dream or whatever. Some say they even like learn in their dreams or
Right,
whatever.
right.
And then, but your thoughts, especially
And that's when
before
it's
you sleep,
noisiest.
it's true also. And it can be also noisy if you're not in the right headspace, right? So how you think, what you're thinking, what you imbibe, especially before you go to bed, is very important. So that's what I learned
So
from
twice a
them.
month, the one thing that's common, if I'm gonna write, I don't have a journal.
Hmm.
But the one thing that I'll always put in 15:30 is payroll. Number payroll again.
You know what? Actually, like payroll or let's say
Oh my
evaluations, right?
Yes. Oh man.
Don't you feel like when you evaluate, that's the only time you sometimes get to talk, whether you hear about yourself or the other person. But imagine if there were more evaluations, you'll both get to improve faster, better, more often. That journaling is kind of like that, and gratefulness.
I will
talk.
start
It's
doing
like
this.
a daily evaluation. So I've recommended this to all my friends, my family, my team. I've shared it, the whole exercise, because personally it was life changing for me. I mean, I'll forever be grateful to Mel for sharing that with me. So that for me was a, like I would say, like a pivotal moment, 2019. And that's why even my leadership, going back to the leadership difference, I was different already during the pandemic. So I was very mellowed, not just mellowed, like not tough, but I was very nurturing. Also because I mentioned, diba, I was like at my healthiest. When you're at your healthiest and it's like your cup is full, then you have more to give. You can be more nurturing, right? So I would say the first 2 years and during Pick A Roo, I was at the peak.
Prime crystal.
Even as a
There you
leader,
go.
like I would say I was very nurturing, and also because I had so much time. We were home, all those other time that you spent stressing on traffic, or I don't know what other stressors you would have, that's all gone. Plus I was healthy, mentally, physically, everything. I felt like my heart was full. I was always with my family and all that, right? It was like everything scraped off. You don't have an ego, nothing. And I actually saw that with a lot of people. A lot of people that I work with and everything. They were also different people. I feel like I saw a lot of the good in people, even myself, during the pandemic. And then 2022, I think that's like the turning point also for not just me, but a lot of people. Because then things were starting to evolve. Like you don't have as much free time, blah, blah,
People
blah.
want to
right?
see each other.
Yeah. And then even meetings started to happen, like more face to face. I also started going, I think, twice a week and whatnot. But I think around mid 2022, that was when it was pivotal for me. Like I really was like feeling all the changes and, just overall. And I think because I knew I was turning 39, reaching to 40, I think I set that sort of timeline for myself early on. I had this idea of myself and where I would be, how I would feel before I turned 40. It was very personal. Like definitely since there was that 40 thing, I don't know, but it's more like I said it, I think, around in my 20s before I even graduated. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So something about me, I already had a vision, a plan
You're
for
a planner,
myself.
right? Yeah. Mm.
Even the first day I stepped in college, I knew where I wanted to be when I graduated, what kind of role, what I would be doing, around how much salary I should get by around what time. And I did that evaluation every year. But so before, I used to do it like usually just annually. And usually I do a major evaluation and major like self-evaluation every 3 years.
If you're still aligned with that path.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you actually look at my career also, normally around 3 years, that's also when I change paths. Not just because I look at the environment and the industry, but I align it with my personal mission and vision for what kind of life I want to live. It got more serious me doing that when I had a life scare in around 2012. Yeah. So I had a major life scare. And that's when all the more I took it to the next level. So I was already doing that. Maybe I think I had a plan, a journal in grade school. I had another one in high school. I had another one in college, right? So it's like really in phases. And then I started working, and it was like a fast train, a bullet train. And then around 2012, that's when I was like, oh wow, that really changed me, because I think around 2012, I must have been around 28. I was single. I was still single, just super busy and going out. I was going out that time. And I had a health scare wherein the doctor mentioned I only had two options, either chemotherapy or radiation iodine therapy at 28. So I was like, what? I was devastated. My dad, who's also a doctor, was saying, that maybe it's what's best. Just, protect your health, whatever. I said, no,
What?
I'm not doing that.
What did you do?
Because I said, I'm only 28 and had such long hair, curly, fluffy hair that time. That was a thing. And I said, at 28 with fluffy long hair and flourishing hair and whatever, I'm still single and I'm going to be bald. No.
What?
But more than that, that's a funny way I tried to, make fun of the situation or make it light. But for me, I'm grateful for that moment because it made me really evaluate my life. And I knew that time I wanted to be a mom. I was already 28. And so it just reminded me on what's important to me. Because that's what happens when you have a life scare, a health scare. So anyway, I found a different doctor. And I went in and said, if you're just going to recommend what the other one recommended,
Don't talk to
I'm
me.
okay.
Okay.
But I said, I told her my personal feeling that I want to have kids. I'm not willing to sacrifice. I think that time the initial doctor that told me it was going to take me around 3 years because the mass they found was a size of a golf ball. And they can only make it small 1 cm at a time.
Yeah.
So I was
long game.
thinking, okay, 28 to 30, so what, 31, give or take. Plus, I need to recover my hair and everything. And good luck with my plan of being a mom, having a family. And I've always been a mom. Wanted to be a mom.
Correct
Sorry.
me if I'm wrong, you're Opus Dei. Are you Opus Dei?
I mean, I
you come from a big family, right?
I only have one sister. We're just
you're
two
the
kids.
ate. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just two kids. But my mom and dad had come from big families.
Yes.
One is
I
8.
remember.
I think, like my dad 8 kids and my mom 6 kids. So, but I'm into kids. In fact, if I check my journals when I was young, I always put I wanted to be a neonatologist, which is a doctor for babies. That's always been in my mind. And in high school, in summer break, I worked for free in a daycare center. That's how much I loved kids. So I love kids. So that for me was a priority, and it just reminded me of that. And so during that time when I had a health scare, that's when I told myself, I'm not gonna let this happen again, where I'm gonna feel like I'm not living the way I should live.
Got it. Makes sense. So how did that impact? Okay, wait 1 sec. It's getting too long. Let's take our first break. And when we come back, we will now continue the conversation. How did that impact Crystal's decision making, and how did that turn into her leaving the nest in Pick A Roo and making that call to take a rest, which is, by the way, rare, which I want to really learn also. And again, founding Noneaway. Well, let's talk about that more after the break. Hey hustlers, are you tired of bank transfer fees and low interest rates on your savings? Say hello to GoTime Bank. GoTime Bank offers interest rates 50x higher than traditional banks. Enjoy this rate on your savings. No minimum amount, no deposit caps, and no tasks or missions to complete. With GoTime Bank, you can make quick and secure transfers to other banks with 3 bank transfers per week. Plus, earn Go Rewards points and redeem them as cash with a simple tap in the GoTime Bank app. Experience the next level of banking with GoTime Bank. Download the app now or visit www.gotime.com.ph to experience next level banking. It's GoTime! Hey hustlers, it's a brand new season and I have a brand new tool that will help you scale your startup properly as you grow your team and give them equity eventually. And if you want to have a record of ownership management, efficient equity workflow, and award grants digitally, Capita has you covered with CapMap. CapMap is designed to enable cap table and ESOP management, as well as digital share insurance for companies across South and Southeast Asia. Also, Capita provides ESOP advisory services for you to set up your plan and engage your employees through equity awards. And trust me, this is a boon because as you grow your team, you want to give their best people a piece of the company that they're hustling for. Investing shares and giving ESOP is not easy if you don't have a product like this. So please do check it out and sign up now at capita.com with a Q. Again, that's capita.com with a Q. And it's free for companies that have under 25 stakeholders. Get ready to experience the power of seamless equity workflow management today. And we're back from the break. We are still with Crystal Lee Gonzalez and told us that amazing journey. I love it when people are just again have a lot of candor, becoming vulnerable, and the best founders are not afraid to show that vulnerability because again, as you go, the number one trait of a leader is you have to be genuine, right? The more you overcompensate,
You have to be human.
correct, and then
'Cause otherwise, it's hard to relate to you,
Correct.
to a robot.
correct, but still have that ability to rally the team over a common goal and whatnot, which we will discuss later. How did you evolve? Or what's the difference being an operator where you're a co-founder and whatnot, but now it's you, the whole boss dog, technically. But again, before we start the conversation, let's pick up where we left off before the break. And the conversation we were having was technically now you had this pivotal moment, 2022. This whole thing, and Pick A Roo was doing well. You're at your peak, but you made a decision, right? And this is what I wanted to find out on. What was that decision? And most of the time, a lot of people, when they make those decisions, and I like that you've always been deliberate over what you want to achieve in your life. But there's always a trigger when people make sudden changes. And normal people typically have an irrational and emotional decision when they do that. But you were deliberate na. Walk me through that, and what was that decision like, and how did that lead to you leaving Pick A Roo?
For me, it's not a recent thing. So that's why I think it's important to understand even the pivotal moments, even as early as, I don't know, 2012, right? For me, like, that was major because everything I did after that life threat or health scare prompted me to make better decisions and more proactive I guess like efforts. And I think something very different that I do is I don't just evaluate things I get into, but things that I have to let go of and leave. I'm very deliberate in both. A lot of people, they only leave and I've been like this not just with jobs but with relationships ever since. I've had, like on paper looks like the best relationships, the ideal relationship, and I'll break up. And everyone's like, what? But it's so perfect, blah, blah. It wasn't perfect to me. And what's important is how I feel. And if it's aligned to me, my life plan, and my values, it always goes back to that, my core, my values. And whatever role, title, opportunity, whatever, if it's not aligned to that, especially my values, what I value in life also, because values is different, but what you value in life can be also different. For me, it's family, my time, my health, mentally, physically, emotionally. Those are things I really value. And I felt like I got that already. And over time, I've learned to perfect it even more and more. But whatever you want to call it, balance, time management, and all that. So I know, especially when it's not right. So for example, as far as even Viber, and same thing, it was just the peak. I was Southeast Asia already, just doing so well, even in Myanmar. It's even bigger in Myanmar than here. But it wasn't aligned to my life anymore. I was having my second child. I couldn't possibly be traveling to Tel Aviv and all over Asia with, and I did that with my first child and it was fine. So again, yes, it seems good on paper. It's not aligned with my life anymore. What's important to me are my kids and my family and my time. Honest Bee, same thing. I left Honest Bee even a bit early than before it was public and all. I moved to Canva because Honest Bee was not aligned as well anymore with my values. So Canva was, right? Canva was super aligned. Like even the founders were aligned. So even the decision to get into Canva is very proactive. I wasn't proactively looking for work. I just happened to Cliff, one of the founders, got in touch with me. We super got along. We have the same beliefs about life. We have both this thing about YOLO, and then I met Mel, and then that's how I made that decision. It wasn't for career, money, or I don't know what. Not at all. I wasn't even looking. I was planning to rest, in fact, after Honest Bee. And then with Pick A Roo, it was also very aligned because proactively, I knew we wanted to bring back the Honest Bee team. And even before I met our founder, I was already talking to so many. I've talked to all the conglomerates. I've talked to all. I've talked to, in fact, even the previous investor of Honest Bee who was trying to make it
Just
work.
to run it back.
Meaning, I really wanted to bring back the team and continue that. So that was very clear. It wasn't like one day, somebody just funded us and I was lucky. Not at all. I've talked to and tried to, make it work and come up with
Somebody
a deal
took a chance.
with so many. It just so happens that Kevin Tan was the one that aligned with everything that I valued that time and was important to me. He allowed me to bring the team, to get my own team. Those were important to me that time. And that, I was going to be co-founder. I was going to be able to build an app from scratch and everything. And I was excited for that somebody was going to allow me to do that with over $5 million US, right? And give that security also. You have to remember in that time, there were no VCs like the so many VCs shopping around now
There's
in this
no
country.
$2 million
There were
seed rounds
no
here.
VCs. Especially, and plus for me, it was such a blessing that it was Kevin, and I'm so grateful to them because you have to remember they're a conglomerate, and you have to remember this was during a pandemic. Had it been someone else or I went to a different path, the anxiety and everything, and just the learnings and guidance alone I got, it's priceless. And I told this to Kevin when I was bawling my eyes out when I was gonna leave Pick A Roo, that I felt like I got a Harvard education, but better because I got it from you. So, and leading to the decision to leave, it wasn't just out of the blue. It was very deliberate. Around 2 years, 2 years in, and I think that time my third child is already one. Of course, we grew, right? It started to take a toll on me also, right? You have to remember, I've been doing this whole grocery on demand for 7 years. I did this with my second child. Now I'm doing it to my third child.
Man.
It was taking a toll also because it's on demand. Okay. So imagine my life for 7 years, the peak of this on demand. And we delivered food, groceries, flowers, whatnot, which means I don't have Valentine's, which
Mother's
is not a
Day
big deal. I don't
is
care about
out.
it. Definitely Mother's Day is out.
Mhm.
Even pandemic, that's our craziest day. We deliver flowers, food,
Everything.
everything that's important to mothers that you would
Oh,
send to a
man.
mother. We did
Yep.
thousands in a day.
Yep.
The birthday of my second child is Christmas Eve.
Oh, man.
And I don't have Christmas Eve because that's our busiest time.
Yeah. Makes sense. All
So,
the hamons and on the road.
So all the sort of, those days,
Yeah.
I can never get those back.
Makes a lot of sense.
Me just being present, I would say best effort 50%, because 50% of me is busy, whatever, preparing, all the weekends that I had to spend, whether it was an 8-8 sale, a 9-9 sale, and we had to,
Take advantage.
all those weekends, I will never get that back. That my kids are swimming or doing something, or I don't know, and I'm not there because I had to deal with something, or mentally, even if physically I'm just home, mentally being preoccupied with something. I could never get those back. And I've been doing that for 7 years because I'm in the same field, which had that all those same busy days and months and whatever. And I think like also maybe pandemic effect, whatever, but burnout. It reached a point where I didn't even have the energy to do things that I liked or loved. It like I couldn't even have the energy to travel anymore. So I really had to evaluate. And I didn't feel like I was as effective anymore. And that's the very important thing as the leader, because you're not just a manager anymore. You're the leader, right? So if you're not able to do that and be fully there 100%, which normally you need to do 200%.
Yeah. It's
You
not
shouldn't
enough.
do it at all.
100%. No.
Yeah. So I don't believe in the whole sticking it out for the sake of it. It's not good for you as a person. And this is the weirdest thing that like I consistently did, even in honesty. I think ER and I are similar in this. So we encourage people to move on. Or like those who want to move on, like feel free to blah blah blah. I did that regularly, even in honesty. Not everyone will agree with me on that, but because I genuinely care about people, their growth, their well-being, and I really don't believe that you can grow if you also don't know when to let go and move on. There's a big difference with just grit and working hard and like, pushing on when it gets difficult. That's different. But there's also a lot of growth and even more growth, in fact, when people have the ability to let go at the right time as well.
What's the right time? Because okay, I'll deep dive on this, because obviously the result that you chose after this, and again, amazing that you see it. I saw on your LinkedIn, when I looked at your LinkedIn, that you're actively resting. That's the choice you took. But again, when is the right time to leave? Because I'll deep dive on my end. So I'm at a phase right now where I call it the dip. So it's a perfect storm, right? Earlier this year, around March, February, our number one client, Spotify, had a shift in direction. Affected us, almost killed us, and we had to take some massive moves, right? We were able to rally our team behind, get our investment to give us a chance to get back. June happens, my co-founder passes away. Fuck, bro. It's like, what is going on? And I'm not going to lie. I asked myself a shit ton of times, should I move on? Or I went Adele mode. Should I give up or should I just
Yeah.
keep it?
Yep. And that's normal, by the way. And it comes in phases.
Yeah, I know.
To feel that,
Right.
except yours is a bit more in your face because of the triggers.
I cannot. Okay, here's the thing. There are days where I'm like so close to the edge. Like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done. Because also, you don't just risk the lives of the people that you're with.
You can't just give up just like that.
Yeah, and I'm a meaning guy. That's how I make my decisions. What does this all mean in the grand scheme of things? With my co-founder passing away, hustling with me, and I just pulled the plug. But there are days like, like, what is it time? Is it? Do I have to do this
So
now?
it's
I
like,
want to
how do
rest
you
too.
know?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm extremely exhausted, and that's what I want. I just want to be able to rest, because ever since when I started out in 2009, I've never had a time to rest. Not because I don't want to, just I don't have a choice.
Right.
I have
Like
to
most of us.
Put food on
We
the
have to.
table. I just don't have enough. I gotta keep the lights on. I gotta do what I gotta do. And that's why I'm not complaining. But the choice that I made, like what I said, is I gotta run this through. And the people that really kept me going are these guys. Because when I don't have enough to keep trudging on, it's my team, and I see the activity in Slack. I see the hustle that they bring in, the same brand of hustle that I know I've started. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's run it back. And for me, I'm at peace with the result. When I say at peace with the result, I don't want to leave it to what ifs. Now, what if I just tried a little bit? fuck it. The one thing that I can control now is how hard we work towards that goal. And that goal is to just be profitable. That's our goal. We're very damn close. Almost. Few $1,000s away. But I want to rest. But again, leaders eat last. We know that, right? And I'm not complaining. Don't worry, I'm not gonna rest. Tomorrow I'm gonna be in Slack. You guys know naman, I'm gonna freaking hustle. But that's what I want to get perspective on, Crystal, because I'm pretty sure a lot of founders just don't have even in their line of sight that they have a choice to rest.
Yeah.
Right?
I get that. So first thing, always go back to the why. And the why is not to make money, make profit. That was never the why. I don't know any.
My why is money.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an outcome, right? But that's not enough to
Right.
fuel anyone.
Yeah.
I just feel like that can never sustain you, right? Like just money.
Yeah.
Just that
No, it's not enough.
cannot be the end
It's
goal.
not
It will never be enough to anyone. Like it's not enough to make you wake up every day, right? Because there's other ways to make money, right? So meaning like why this? Why continue this specific? So it always has to go back to the why, I feel. Next is I feel like it takes a lot of self-awareness and humility. And again, regular evaluations of yourself, of your life, how you're feeling. If first, are you still in the right place? Right? And there's so many ways to know how you feel. Just really being honest and analyzing. And only you can know that. No one can answer that for you. Are you still happy? Because it's one thing to be tired. It's normal to be tired. Like it's like working out. Like you could be tired from working out, but you're still happy to do it.
Do you still love it?
Do you still? And that's the thing. That's the most important for me. And my dad, I was talking to my dad about this. My dad's a psychiatrist, by the way.
Lucky.
And I feel
So
like
lucky.
I know. I was gonna say, if you're asking, so I get all these comments like, "How do you do it?" Like your mom, blah blah blah. Simple answer. My dad and sister are psychiatrists. It's not magic.
Man.
My dad is a psychiatrist.
Oh my
Okay.
God. That will come in handy any time of the day.
Anytime, whether whatever, relationships, marriage, obviously. I get a lot of advice aside from my dad and mom are still married and, but one thing, so I had that thing, right? And I told you this was 2022. I had that, I feel like I had to evaluate again. I was feeling burnt out. First thing that kept me going, which is similar to what you said, was the team. Since I saw that they were, still, and you have to remember, I brought all these people there.
There's a sense of duty to it, right? That
yes.
Even on days that you don't feel like fucking working.
Then you power on, right? But to the ones close to me, I really sat them down and talked to them. I remember around mid-2022 and told them really how I was feeling already, that I was burnt out, it was affecting me, blah, blah. But like the thing was still similar. Like I still wanted to make sure things were good and I still wanted to give it my last drop and all that, right? So I really, this is again because of I regularly evaluate, I really told not just them, but myself, 6 more months. And then 6 more months and then we'll see. Okay. But give or take, from the time like I started feeling, okay, I might want to move on. Like net, it took me a year, to be honest. If I left my super last was around March, like even before that, like I started, putting in the seeds, like whether putting in certain people, completing
You're
the team,
prepping
blah, blah,
them
blah.
up.
I was prepping. But all the more I did it during the 6 months. Because I said, I feel like I can only really power on another sort of 6 months.
You see the writing on the wall.
Yes. And since I told you about like self-awareness, like whether it was my body, certain things I feel, certain symptoms, your body is the best way to tell you what's going on with yourself. And
Especially
a lot
in your
of times,
30s.
true. It manifests physically.
Yes.
It's so obvious
Yes.
whether you're getting frequent migraines, tummy aches, acidity. These are all signs already. When it reaches physical already, it's beyond emotions already. Like it's your body
It's telling you
is already screaming to tell you, I'm not happy anymore.
Yes.
It's just that a lot of us choose to not listen to ourselves, to our inner voice. our emotions and our bodies. I knew. It was very obvious already in the last 6 months. But I don't regret, like, like not, like, I don't regret staying on another year or whatnot, even if, to be very honest, I was really having a difficult time as well already. Like, whether burnout, everything else, right? Um, and I also had to deal with some health things that time. So it was a mix, right? It wasn't just work. So, but again, it's personal. It had nothing to do with what anybody else around me, or like what the industry was. Nothing. It's always personal. And that's why I know when I'm making big decisions that it's the right decision. Because I make it personal to me versus external. What will people say? The moment it reaches a point where, like, at the end of the day, it's your decision. And I think it's just always remembering that you always have a choice. You're not a tree. If you're not happy, you can move.
Yeah.
You're not a tree.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds
You're not
very
wedged.
basic.
Yeah.
And my dad, I remember, asked me this question midway. He's like, I think the first time I mentioned it or whatever, he said, "Do you still love what you do?"
Whew, that's hard.
It's heavy.
Oh my God.
And that time I still said yes. Nearing the time when I felt like it was close to, I really can't anymore, I asked myself that same question, and my head-on answer was no, not anymore. And you need, and this is why you can't have an ego, especially when you're a leader. And if you want to make the right decisions, because your ego will block you from making the right decisions.
Always.
At the end of the day, it's a very simple thing. You're a leader. You're supposed to take things to the next level. If your heart is not there anymore and your mind is not there, you're not the right person for that job anymore. Let somebody else do it. And that has to come from you.
And that's that skill of self-evaluation is
Yes,
is the most
you're
important
saying, like, all leaders, like, say they care about what they do. They care about the vision. They care about their people. Then do the right thing. Know when you're not the right person, and know when you should let go. In the same way that you should know when you should power on and continue, and you feel like you have unfinished business, then that's a sign that you should still power on.
Yeah. Like for me, there are days where, God damn it, it's so hard, right? And I've never said so hard in any year than this year. This is easily the most grueling year I've ever been on. But it also taught me just another level of two things. Another level of gratitude that, oh my God, I'm so fucking happy and I'm so fortunate to be working with these amazing people.
It's like and here's the thing that I notice with a lot of people that are doing something. A lot are, quite unhappy, whether they're in a job or whatever they're doing, that they're just so unhappy. What blocks them, and the decision's so obvious, right? But then they allow all these other more superficial things to take over, whether it's what will people say, or and then the worry comes, and then, like, but what if there's no next or whatever? And those are blockers from making the right decision. The pure decisions and right decisions come from a pure heart and mind, right? And so if it's about, like, okay, caring for other people, and then that's still an okay reason, but only you will know that. Like, what's your genuine why? Why are you still staying? Why are you gonna leave? If the why and if the reason is pure, it'll always be right.
Makes sense.
Right.
And it will feel right.
It will feel right, exactly.
So again, going to feel right, going back to my second reason. My second reason was, okay, there's another level of growth that I'm experiencing here. I thought I was gritty as fuck. I'm probably one of the grittiest people already. But oh my God, I'm capable of being gritty pala. More gritty, right? And then the most important thing, me, the way I make decisions, aside from, of course, how it feels, is I'm always looking at pattern recognition. Can we make it? Without my emotion, without my attachment, without anything that comes from here, do we have a chance to win? Because if we don't have a chance to win, I'll be the first guy to say, guys, even in our best day, in our best effort, balls to the wall effort, if we don't have a chance to win, this is not worth it. And we do. We're just a couple of $1,000 away from getting to that cash flow positive. Fuck it, let's go. Balls to the wall. Again, there's no guarantee we're gonna win, but we're so close. Just go all in. So that's why I keep trudging on. But of course, and the way I also just, it's like, okay, when you get there, when you're just able to breathe, take a rest. But I won't leave. I'll just rest lang. Give me a few weeks. Just get my mind right. That's it. That's all I want, right? And take a rest. Because I know after I come back from that rest, I'm going to be a way better version of myself. My head's going to be straight. We can strategize. Because right now, if you just define what the state of where I am, in the book of, what's the name of the guy? Ben Horowitz of The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I'm wartime CEO. I've been wartime CEO for over a year now. So when you're a wartime CEO, you cannot strategize. You cannot fix the roof, right? You're just like, fix it, make sure everybody's afloat, whatever. I want to be able to strategize again and chase big perspective stuff. Right now, I'm like zoomed in, right? So those are the things. But again, we're so close and whatnot. And that's what I want to know on your end, Crystal. So at that point, Crystal, what does it look like on the other side of rest? When again, you don't have shackles anymore. You realize that it's time to move on. Because not every, I don't even know. I cannot name 5 founders that I know that have prolonged, just say I'm on rest mode. And I want to teach this because, guys, we all need this shit. We need to rest at one point. How much rest? Up to you. But what does it look like? Because, like, for example, I know the lay of the land, wartime CEO is the most common thing in Startup PH. Everybody's just trying to hustle to survive, right? Even if we want to thrive, it's just the lay of the land, right? But what does it look like on the rest side of things?
So I feel like it's very important. In fact, it should be a priority to rest. Especially the higher you go up, the more people you also lead. So you have to remember, before I started Pick A Roo, I rested for 6 months. Yeah. Post everything. Post Honest Bee, post whatever. What I went through. I had at least around a rough 6 months of rest. In fact, and even if in between I would set some meetings, if whatever, but I was still resting. Okay. I wasn't doing the grind. Okay. But I think that was one of the first times I really also realized how important rest was. Because I haven't rested for 18 years. I was working part-time even while I was taking my master's. I haven't even graduated yet in 2005. And I had such a good internship and they did absorb me post my graduation. But I realized I was even still working and I was juggling both, like we're trying to work and studying back in as early as 2005, right? And I have not rested. In fact, even in between brands that I would move to, since I would be pirated. So I've been pirated ever since.
Yep.
I would start like literally the next day. Like there's not even a few days. Like,
Right.
like no, I never had that from the time I moved from all my other jobs, from Estee Lauder, Yahoo, everything. Viber. I think Viber I had a little bit, but maybe a good like 1 to 2, maybe 1 month, not a lot. So still, so I realized that later on, and I realized how important it was, that it's like a recalibration. Exactly because of that survival mode. When you're in a certain path, especially if it's like a bullet train path, which is very common, especially if you're in startup or tech, right? It feels like a bullet train. You don't realize you're in a bullet train. When you're in a bullet train, and that's exactly how it feels like. And you tend to just ride on it without noticing how fast you've gone. And what do you notice when you're in a bullet train versus a slow train? You don't see anything outside.
It's just a blur.
You look out and it's all a blur. That's what survival mode is. And that's where most people are at, unfortunately, and there, whether you're in a career, in a successful, I don't know what. That's what I see. I see on paper successful people, but they're either empty inside or going through stuff or unhappy or getting sick, unhealthy,
Yep.
sleepless. Most people I know that are supposedly on paper look successful, they can't even close their eyes to meditate. Praying is different, because you have to remember, even when you pray, you're talking to somebody. That's still not meditation, where you're just quiet and you just allow yourself to be you. And that's why most people can do it, because it's so noisy inside. So for me, like, the very different, for to be honest, and I take this from pregnancy, the happiest moments of my life are when I'm pregnant or after birth, because you're free from the world, because also there's maternity leave, right? But
Yes.
and also you're most I feel I'm most honest also, and most in a weird way confident when I'm pregnant, because you're stripped off of everything. It's the opposite, because actually you're at me personally. I feel like I was at my, as in, like, I gain weight, I have nothing. Like, your skin's bad, your hair's bad, everything, but it feels so real. Why? Because it's so real. You're so present. You're in the moment. Same when your first, especially the first moments when you have a baby, you're so present. That's, every moment you're present, right? Like, every moment counts. Once you know what that feels like, you'll know when it doesn't feel like that. When you're not present, when there's so much chaos, when you're just stressed, you're in stress mode. When you're stress mode, you're in survival mode. And it's very hard to be at peace and be happy when you're there. So for me, that's why, again, very deliberate on what I do, on my life decisions is, and I know I'll do similar to, I did my best. I feel like Pick A Roo, like, did well as well. I don't think I could have done that if I didn't rest before doing Pick A Roo. If, let's say, straight from Honest Bee, launched a Pick A Roo in like a month or two, no. I don't think it would work. I don't think I would be in the right headspace. I don't think I could have led properly, coached people properly. No. So the reason why I feel, and that's why I also took my time, and my co-founders know this for the next thing I'm doing, is because first I appreciate that they accept and embrace who I am and where, at what stage I am in my life, and they respect it. I'm trying to encourage them to live a bit
They're
like
probably in the
whatever,
same
but
survival mode. Like
to
me.
each is their own. But and this is why, like, I'm very, I also allow myself to be vulnerable, because my goal is that, just by me sharing my story, and this is not I guess if more people watch this, then I get to share my story more. But I wish I knew this sooner. I wish I didn't live the bullet train the past 18 years. And because I feel like I still would have reached in the same destination.
Yeah. What
It's
if you were
just
more
that
present?
this time I would have been more present, like a bullet train. If instead of not seeing what's around me and appreciating what's around me, at least I would have been more present in the past. I don't regret anything, but it's just something that I learned also over time. And my decisions, everything I do moving forward has to be aligned to that version of me that is present. When you're present also, and when you're full, when you're at peace, you're kinder. Not just to others, but to yourself. So if you're asking me how it's been like the past 6 months, it's been Zen. I've gone back to my Zen mode.
Nice.
I'm definitely healthier. I've done tennis. I've done cardio. We walk also because we can now, because I live in a fresh air area.
Yes.
My kids are I asked my kids after, or a little before I made the decision. I said, mommy's making this decision. I might leave Pick A Roo, and but I'll have more time with you. But you can't buy as much toys and spend as much as you used to and stuff like that, because and I said, are you okay with that? And they said, That's all we ever wanted. More time with mommy. So again, it's very important, and especially for parents, I think, whatever your career you're in or if you have a business, reevaluate. Because for all you know, that goal that you think that you're doing for your kids, that's not even what they want. They would have been equally or even more happy with less, but with more of you. Because I feel like a lot of the people I meet, it's almost like a reason they give. It's for my kids. Really? Do you really need what, 100 million? Is that enough? I mean, how much money do your kids really need to sustain until they're 20, until they have a life for their own? To be honest, it's not a lot. If you numerically compute how much you need to spend for kids,
It would depend on where you send them to school, right?
I mean, even that, right? Do you really need to send them to an international school that's worth that much? Do you really need it? See, there's a big difference. And I feel like, and that's why I go back to my story earlier on that pivotal moment on having a life scare. Because, when you have a health scare, life scare, it makes you reevaluate and realize what life is really about. And you cannot bring your title with you. You cannot bring your savings with you. You cannot bring your clothes, nothing. Your car with you, whatever. You can't bring any of that. All you can take with you, even after, are the memories you make and how you made people feel, and how your loved ones also made you feel. That's all we're gonna be able to take with us. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I will continue to invest my life on while I'm still here.
That is amazing. All right, now let's take our last break, and when we come back, we will now discuss, because again, you're in the Zen na eh. But you said, all right, it's time to do another startup. But again, this is very different because you came from operator to now 0 to 1 founder. And I want to understand, I mean, you've done that before, but again, you are the one that runs this ship. And I want to see the differences. What are the things that apply before and apply now, and all these things. And also I want to discuss about the how motherhood and startups jive well. And of course, stick around till the end because we will discuss Crystal's Founders Only Top 5 presented by Shoppable Business. But let's talk about that more after the break. Hey hustlers, PayMongo is your payment gateway for business growth. With PayMongo, you can accept online payments from your customers through Visa and MasterCard, debit and credit cards, GCash, Maya, GrabPay, online banking, BNPL, installments, and many more. All with just one platform. For business owners, online payment collection used to be such a pain. Long negotiations and paperwork, complex developer docs, and having to gather all these proofs of payment from your customers would be a serious drag in your operations. Now with just one partner, you can simplify all of that and focus on growing your business. PayMongo's story showcases the resilience of Filipino businesses in today's digital economy. During the pandemic, they became a lifeline to countless businesses by helping them go online quickly, serve their customers, and generate revenue. They have since grown exponentially and now support thousands of businesses from SMEs to venture-backed startups and even the most established enterprises in the country. PayMongo's products allow you to accept all types of payments with or without a website, and they continue to expand into more streamlined financial services. So sign up for free today. Visit paymongo.com to get your business activated in 1 week or less. Hey hustlers, I know how difficult it is to do fundraising at the moment for any startup or any business. And especially given this market where investors are afraid to write any significant check that would help your startup either scale or extend your runway, your options are very, very limited. But don't worry, I think I found a solution that just might help. So if you're seeking capital for your sari-sari store, online business, restaurant, or startup, SeekCap's got you with a 24/7 fast and easy online loan application process, minimal paperwork, and real-time updates. Say goodbye to long lines and long waits with SeekCap. UBX Philippines' online lending marketplace for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Choose from a wide variety of loan products from 5,000 pesos up to 1 million pesos from trusted lenders. With SeekCap, you can apply for a business loan that's tailored to your needs, whether it's for capital, production, operations, or expansion. And check this out.
You can apply anytime, anywhere in the Philippines. So what are you waiting for? Sign up at www.ccap.ph. That's www.seekcap.ph and apply for a loan now.
And we're back to the break. We are still with Crystal Lee Gonzalez, again, of Noneaway, her brand new startup that she will now talk about. Because, Crystal, again, before the break, you walked us through Pick A Roo, why you left Pick A Roo, and then the most amazing thing, which is rest. I look forward to the day that I'm able to afford to rest. But wartime CEO muna, let me take care of the kids. I have kids too, but they are on payroll. That's what I always say. But now, Crystal, it doesn't. Okay, you have the bug, the entrepreneurial bug. The itch will always be there. It's just a matter of time.
For sure. I'll always feel like I want to be doing something or working on something.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's different? This one thing that's different now is before you've always joined. Again, you're always been pirated to join something. You know, you wanted to do something. Honestly, and then Pick A Roo, that came from you. But again, you got Kevin to also help out. I'm not saying that it's not. It's still 0 to 1. But Noneaway, how is it different nowadays? Now that, and why is it the real estate business, the real prop tech that you wanted to solve in this problem? Because again, I want to understand down the road later, what are the things that you learned that you had to unlearn to become a 0 to 1 founder and with less resources this time? And what are these things that still applied from before to now?
So very different experience. Something, I'll start with the commonalities, I guess. So something in common I did for all, which I guess it helps me not feel like I have to pivot too much. All the brands I launched, from even Lazada, I was the first brand head in Lazada, to even Yahoo, because I was the first marketing head I was a marketing head for Yahoo when it's growing. I always treated it as my own. I never had this difference on, because my training is to be an entrepreneur.
Makes sense.
Even in my masters in UANP, we were all trained to be an entrepreneur. Also because everybody that studied there owned something. In fact, I was the only. I remember that there was this time that it was like a class, one of our master's class, business management class. The teacher, to give better context, asked, what do you own? Or your family, right? Everybody said something. One owned a hospital, everybody, a
Holy
restaurant,
shit.
whatever. Someone owned the zipper company, I don't know. And I was the only one who was like, my dad's a psychiatrist, period. So what I'm saying is my training, even my education, was assuming you will create and do something. And even when they talk about it, especially during the classes, during the master's degree, is that if you do work for a company or whatever, you're there to learn. And ideally, just stay there for a couple of years. I kind of got the best of both worlds because I was in tech. And in a way, you're kind of trained to also be an entrepreneur. It's almost encouraged. You're also because of the global, I've only worked for global brands. So they're not even here, which involved being an entrepreneur because that's like your investor.
Right.
And
You're
it
always
involves
asking
trust.
for resources.
And you don't have a bantay. There's nobody like hounding you. I don't have a manager like even checking my attendance.
Yeah.
They're in Tel Aviv. They were in US. They were in the closest
Singapore.
boss I had was Singapore. They're not here. They don't know what I'm doing every day. You just produce results. So that was always my training, both in school and I guess luckily the companies that I joined. Next is something in common is that the brands that I launched, at least the ones I launched myself, Viber, Honestbee, and Launch from Scratch, it was aligned to me first. It wasn't because they just came up to me and I liked it and they offered me. No. And this is, by the way, something I learned with one of my good friends who I trust now and is also part of our new venture, Ray Alimorong. He's been my good friend since I don't know what year.
Shout out, Ray.
He's one of the people I trust. He knows everything about my career and everything. I remember, I'll always remember this. He said, never base your decision on the title and most especially the paycheck. And I've practiced that ever since. I mean, in the beginning, obviously, I check
Yeah.
it because you're starting, right?
Of
I
course.
mean, I could
Right.
barely pay rent. I was renting on my own. I lived on my own. I've been independent from the first time I got a job. Yeah, American style. Anyway, so I never decided based on just money, because then it's just gonna be a ping pong game on who highest bidder. I always based it on the mission and vision and the purpose of the company, and if I believed in it, and if I would use it. So that's something in common with everything I did. It was never like so. This is why the way I would launch it also is if it were my own, because I believed in it and all that. Okay. So the main difference, I would say is, I would say on the funding, I don't feel much difference because I've always been extremely kuripot. Extremely, and it's
Okay.
almost like irritating to everybody I probably worked with. I don't know if it has anything to do, but I'm Chinese Ilocano.
Yep.
So
Oh,
it's
double
a
whammy.
deadly combination.
Double whammy.
So,
Oh my God.
So I feel like that really worked well because I'm able to stretch, whether it was Viber and they gave me a X amount to grow and to launch, no holds barred. I think I was able to, I was able
Dude,
to make
this
the most out of
country is
it.
a Viber country because of you.
Thank you.
I swear to God.
Thank
I always
you.
look at those Cebu parties and whatnot.
And it looked like it was ours, right? But I just partner with them and sponsor, but it looked like a Viber event.
I know, but again,
Yeah.
I always look at that pivotal moment, that inflection. I was like, shit. That's when Viber became mainstream, and it hasn't changed ever since.
Thank you
It's
so
you.
much. Up to this day, I kid you
Yeah.
not, when I hear a Viber ringtone, which is a thing me and my founder did, Talmon. I have this habit of looking at people's phones on what app they use, because that was our dream for Viber, that at some point when you look at other people's phones, it's a Viber app, right? So up to this day, I kind of have this habit of checking if it's purple. But more than that, up to this day, I get excited when I hear the Viber ringtone, because the first time I heard it before, there were maybe 2 million people that used it, mostly OFW families, before I super launched it here. But when it became 8 million, and then when I would hear it up to this day. So even when you mention Viber, I still get kilig because it was just a dream before.
No, and again, the results speak for
Yeah.
itself. And you've done it so many times.
So I'm like that. Even if it wasn't, I wasn't the founder of Viber, right? I think my handle in Facebook, I called myself Crystal Viber. I felt like I'm Viber. So it's like in this country, whatever I'm launching, or even if I'm I'm just technically paid to do that job, plus get a little bonus here and there, and whatever equity. It always felt like it. I treated it like, no, Viber Philippines is me and it's mine. So I didn't feel as much difference with, let's say, even Pick A Roo to even now Noneaway. I've been the same. I felt like I was a founder and acted like one, even in my jobs before.
Right. But here's one thing that I wanted to ask, because again, Viber, Yahoo, Canva, Pick A Roo, honestly, you said that you were a mission or vision girl, and those mission or vision kind of existed already. But here, 0 to 1, that all comes from you. How
Right.
different is that process now? That again, because at a CEO, founder CEO, those are two different things, right? At first, you're really just a founder. You're not a CEO, right? But a founder, it starts with, okay, what's the North Star? You define that,
Right.
and the North Star is always attached to the problem that you're trying to solve,
Correct.
right? So how
did
is
it come
this-
about?
Yeah,
Okay, so first I'll tell the starting point, okay, and how my co-founders and I came about. The very first problem presentation and idea came from ER, my
Shout out.
co-founder.
Mm-mm.
So ER Roland, we've known each other, we've been talking, and and at some point I only told very few people because I wasn't ready to tell people about me leaving Pick A Roo yet. I wanted to give them time to buffer and get my that time COO appointed to CEO, just so everybody knows. I always knew it was gonna be stable. That's how I set it, right? I'd feel like an epic failure if. And I wouldn't leave if I didn't set it that way, right? So I and plus Kevin's there. It's not like it was it was like I'm the only one. So that's more Kevin co-founded that. So but when by the time I was ready, I only talked to 2 people in my first month post officially leaving Pick A Roo. It was ER Roland
Okay.
and Paolo Campos.
What?
And I told him my
Okay.
story about how
Right,
I'm gonna be Zen mom now.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And I had one passion project. Okay, I can share a little bit later, but it's really just purely passion. It's not like my end goal is not profit, it's passion. So I was telling them about my passion project. Of course, they were both supportive, gave me ideas. Of course, like whatever you need, blah blah blah. And then, ER just asked me one question. Do you still wanna have your own? Because I remember, so this is how I know that, like, it wasn't like a abrupt decision or anything. Because I told ER like at least half a year ago that, like Pick A Roo, it's good and whatever. I'm very proud of where we're at, but it's not for me the end game, right? Like I'm learning so much and whatever, but it's not for everything for me. I feel like I have other missions, purpose I need to fulfill. Can be one or two, whatever, like there. So as long as I'm confident that I want to do something of my own. And so he asked that question post. And then he pitched this problem that he wanted to solve about real estate. And then I told him, I was kind of excited because, so I told him what happened, which was I bought a home 6 months prior also. And had this like I had this personal experience. Again, just like all the other things I've launched, it was personal. Whether I felt personal, I needed it as a mom, whatever. With Viber, I had OFW. A lot of relatives abroad. I have some OFW friends. It was too expensive. It just made sense for everybody in this country to use Viber. So when he shared that real estate problem that he wanted to also solve, because he's been into real estate also, more investing or something. So he had a lot of, pain points that
It's
he
not
wanted
easy.
to solve,
My God.
right? So
Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, I'll consider. And then I joined one, I don't know, product briefing or whatever. And it was like, I was getting my thought bubbles were on how like I wanted to solve what I wanted to.
Okay.
Because his side, and that's ER's expertise, obviously the B2B and infrastructural issues, right? I mean, he solved the sari store, everything, ecosystem here, right? So my mind was already blowing out of proportion on the other parts of it.
Okay.
So
Branding and all these
not
other
just that, but because I recently just bought a home.
and it's personal
So
to you.
so the technical terms for it is like primary market is more if you buy from Ayala and all that, the developers. That's primary. And my experience from purchasing real estate for investment for living has been with that, right? But when I experienced secondary market, which is
Buying from another
a
homeowner.
property and they build and sell and whatever, that's secondary market, and that's the big chunk of the market in this country. Okay, so and that's I had first-hand experience how that's like, and for me it's personal. Why? Not just because I experienced it, but my thought, even when I was experiencing it, and I told my husband this, plus my broker, I said, at this day and age of technology, seriously, this is how manual it was. First of all, everybody was vibering everything.
At least it's Viber.
Yes, I'm flattered. I told everybody that, my broker and whatnot. I'm so happy and glad you're all using Viber, but it's not what it's meant for. We shouldn't be sending all the documents,
on Viber.
everything on Viber. Updates are on Viber. There was nothing, pretty much. It was so manual. Anyway, long story short, I felt like, you always feel like you're buying your dream house. That's your dream. That's your hard-earned money. It's supposed to feel like a dream because it's your dream home. Regardless of what kind of home you're buying, even our last home, I felt like that was my dream home. So it should feel like a dream. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt like I was at some point. And I realized everybody I talked to that's bought a home in the secondary market has felt that way. Like as if you're being scammed. I don't know if you've sold a home, bought a home, but it's the same even when you sell a home, actually.
There's just a lot of distrust.
There's just
floating.
so much distrust. I mean, the fact that it's all on chat apps. They barely email, by the way. There's no tracker for everything. You don't know how much you need to pay, all of that. And we've all experienced that. Paolo also, he's done Ayala Land before. He's also invested in properties. And so, like us coming, and for me, what's more very, very important in this venture is it's with the people I'm with. I wouldn't dare disrupt and change this industry by myself. No, I cannot. I don't think. But the fact that it's with ER and Pau as co-founders, plus Ray Alimorong, who's also with Kaya, who is, who's our seed fund. For me, then I'm like, yes,
Boom. That's
hell
a
yes.
Superman team, a super team right there.
Like, for me, the stars just aligned because these people were the ones I already trusted with my whatever, like stuff I wanted to do or whatever, that passion project. Like the fact that they were my first call, to share even my thoughts on my crazy idea, on my passion project. And the fact that I get to do this with them, for me, it's already an experience in itself. And for me, it's very important also because related to my, the Zen life I'm promoting, which is a peaceful life and all that, where you live, where you stay, and it's not about size. Okay, that's something I believe in. It's not like equally felt at peace in our previous townhouse and in our home now. It's but it's like the location, it's everything, the community, the people that you're around with. For me, basic things like fresh air, like hands down, I would give up some high proper value of a thing here in BGC and get some small place in, let's say, a Laguna or whatever.
Cavite, whatever.
Doesn't matter where, but there's fresh air and there's trees. So
and there's birds and there's an actual garden.
Yeah,
or whatever.
It's for me aligned with my personal mission and what I'm passionate about, which is this whole living your life to the fullest. And all of us, we spend majority of our lives in our home, in the place that you stay. So this thing we're doing, since it involves homes, the secondary market and real estate, it's still aligned to that. And it's aligned to even my creativity, because even when I was doing all the other things I'm doing, I would always, and obviously only my husband and my kids know this, but I'm very ma-interior and I change things around and and this time I can actually put it to good use.
Nice.
Whether
and it's your startup.
Yes, it's
That's
part
amazing.
of it. So that's what we're doing now. It's very different, I would say, only in a sense of I guess, like, if I was already kuripot and careful before and I want to maximize the money, this one, I guess, like, we're taking ourselves to the next level in a sense of, because we've already experienced the whole burn thing, high burn and whatnot, right? So I think all of us now, since we're also not new founders combined.
Second, third, fourth time, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, even Paulo's like,
Just
oh my gosh,
imagine.
like, these are people I look up to. You know what I mean?
Mm.
To be fair, I'm not gonna include them in my top 5 because it's not fair, right? But they're already my partners.
Okay.
So, but obviously I look up to them for a reason.
Okay. So bonus on those two.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I won't include them. Obviously, I look up to all of them, and the fact that we get to do this, right? But the other thing I think I'm excited about, and the difference with this one is, like, in terms of really being profitable and really taking it, I feel like me on a personal level also, it's how I want to impact the economy. If we could make the real estate industry more trustworthy and reliable, I would much
more deals.
rather people invest in real estate, which is sure to go up. And obviously, I learned a lot also. I even when I was buying a house, I got 10 tips from my founder. I learned so much, right? And how I appreciated learning from people like Kevin, how, like, it's a sure thing. When you invest in real estate, there's no other way but up. There's no real estate that goes down. I want to share that. I want to make sort of democratize that for people, especially for the Philippines. I want, if possible, if I can find a way to make people trust the real estate business and make their savings, regardless of amount, put it in real estate, I know that will go back to them instead of it going to some easy, I don't know, whatever, like multi-level marketing and pyramid scams. It should go to real estate. It's a sure thing. But it's not established. And there's no, I guess, like, democratized platform for it that's trustworthy.
So just to dumb it down a little bit, for what is Noneaway going to do to help solve that problem?
Okay, so Noneaway, how we're calling it and explaining it simply is that it's real estate made simple. So Noneaway is making real estate simplified, verified, and digitized. So we have our path to make that happen. We're starting with working with all the legitimate brokers in the country. There's over 45,000 registered in the PRC.
What?
Yes.
I don't even know that.
And to be honest, it's not enough. If you look at the secondary market and how big it is, we don't have enough brokers, I feel. And right now, it's all based on who you know, right? So you have to
And that-
find a good broker. It's like looking for a
Correct.
doctor.
It's Shambahan.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
shambahan. It's like a doctor where sometimes you get along and immediately you like your doctor, but sometimes there's also a better doctor. You just didn't know
Correct.
that doctor
You just
existed.
don't have access to the whole
Yes.
ecosystem or spectrum. per se.
Exactly. So that's how we're starting. It has to start with that. And then, but we're trying to help fix the infrastructural issues first, which is a lot.
Yeah. But again, I've seen people that's in your team. That your team is filled with infra guys. ER is an infra guy. Pao infra fix the whole infra of e-commerce. My goodness, right? So I just see this. Just look out when this. How far along are you guys?
So we're already MVP
Okay,
product,
there you go.
and this is where they have to calm me down because I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to design and stuff. And I'll hear the guys tell me, Chris, baka you want it kasi too pretty. And say,
Yeah.
okay, you're right. so,
Yeah.
so we're there.
Ship it.
We have a small team in place already. But I guess what I'm more excited about is to share a little bit of the vision where I want to create a platform that's so trusted, the most trusted platform. The guys we're using to develop it are actually security and cloud developers. And the vision I have is that it's so secure for one that you don't have to think about it, but also that it's so seamless and accessible that you see updates about your property, whether you bought or you sold, as easy as you buy a Zalora package or a Lazada package. That you just get alerts and updates like DOAS is signed, your CGT is paid. I mean,
Correct.
so
All these things.
because
That again.
this is your hard-earned money. It should be the
Yes.
most seamless experience and the most beautiful experience you'll encounter.
Absolutely. All right. Before I let you go again, thank you so much to Paymongo. But we need to now go to Crystal's Founders Only Top 5 powered by Shoppable Business. So again, Crystal, there's 2 rules lang on how this Founders Only Top 5 works. You cannot pick yourself and you cannot pick me. You don't need to freaking bloat my ego because I have none anymore. None away. No ego for me. But again, you said ER obviously and Pao are the bonus.
Mel of Canva, I've heard her get mentioned in this show
So
a
top
lot
first
of
one
times.
is
But
Mel.
no, I won't
Okay.
include her
Oh,
now because
wow,
she's
okay.
been, and I think I've talked about Mel Perkins,
Yeah.
about a couple of times also in
Right.
whether
So 2 Mels
conferences or
are out.
whatever.
Mm-mm.
So Mel
First pick.
Perkins, I won't anymore. But definitely for me, number 1 would be Kim Yao. So Kim has worked with me since even Viber.
Dude, Kim
When
Yao
we
is
were
the
starting
goddess.
YBM, their agency. So I've seen her grow as a woman in her career. And I couldn't be more proud of everything she's accomplished, And I'm very close to her sister also, Bea. So I've seen, I'm close to
Yeah, Bea was
them.
with you in Pick A Roo, right?
So Bea has been with me since Viber, Honest Bee, and Pick A Roo.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm
Is
very
it
loyal.
Noneaway?
Mm.
We'll see. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
So, yun. So Kim definitely, and Kim is just such her work ethics. And I always knew, even when she was working with me in Viber, I always saw her as an entrepreneur. And just the way she is as a person and her motivation and her work ethics is something else.
And after hearing her backstory, again, Kim, I still want you on
She
Hustleshare,
hasn't gone here
please.
ba? Oy,
No,
Kim.
Hustleshare, please. Please give me the
To be,
opportunity.
alam mo, sobrang humble din kasi ni Kim.
No,
Hindi
no,
siya
no.
mahilig din sa
She
mga-
doesn't like it, right?
Yeah,
but
she
my
also-
God, my first startup was in nightlife.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
true. You're
guest
right.
list at
you're
PH
right.
Party File.
Mm.
So I've seen her. I was coming from the outside looking in because I'm always
Mm-mm.
doing front of house, right? So I'm the guest list guy. My God, during her peak Kim Yao,
Yeah.
the best parties in this
Oh, for
country
sure.
that's ever
Yes.
not even close. Kim Yao, and again, rest in peace, Stephen Koo.
So, Isa pa yan. Yeah.
Okay.
So Stephen's also one of my super good friends. I would say he's also one of the ones that changed my life. If he was still alive, he'll be one of my top, because I saw him, I've been working with him since Yahoo. So I always tell this that, I wouldn't have been able to launch Yahoo properly, Viber properly without Stephen Koo. So I owe a lot to him. And he's been a really good friend. In fact, I got my property, my townhouse property through him. No. Through, although he was, he's one of the ones who convinced me to move to the South, by the way, before he passed away. But even my property before in Victor Consunji property, it was through Stephen. So I miss you. We love you, but yeah.
He's my co-founder in Chatbot PH.
Yeah. Okay, I remember he was talking about Chatbot.
Yes.
So
that's
I
the
would
first.
have added him. So
yeah,
Kim,
okay. Second?
I decided to choose girl founders because marami na ring praises. In this country especially also, I feel like, and you'll notice there's more male founders.
That's just
so
the
I'd like to really more advocate for the females. So definitely Kim, Bella Gupta.
Yep. And Mama.
I've been with I've gotten in touch with Bella since I don't know Viber pa ata ako. So I saw also her journey
from
throughout from AdSpark and and she's also a mom. We're still in touch, so we have regular catch-ups also. So I'm so amazed. In fact, I told her this. She's one of the ones that inspired me to take my entrepreneur life to the next level. Because that's also her journey. She was working, she was in corporate. Actually, even more, she's corporate. Me, I'm even from startup. But she was in that comfortable corporate and then became entrepreneur. So I took a lot of advice from her. Third is Nina. So I like to choose
Nina
people I've really gotten to know. Nina Dizon. So
okay.
Nina, I think I met only fairly recently, like last year, I think, in a Tatler event. And I just loved her. So that's the first time I met her in person. But I actually came across her. We were in a conference together online during the pandemic. And I was just so in awe. Like, I was so amazed with her personality, her story, how she really started it from scratch.
And also a mom.
She's a single mom now. She's a college dropout. And just her sheer confidence, determination, and vision. And her personality is just so amazing to me. And she's like now, she became a TikTok star because she didn't, diba, she was saying how she didn't have the budget. And so she became her own content creator. And I'm such a fan of people that are able to just show their real true selves without qualms. And she's just really one of those women I admire and entrepreneurs I admire. So definitely Nina. Unfortunately, I haven't really met her in person, but I've come across her. I didn't get to chat with her personally. Angkas. Angeline,
damn, my
100%.
God.
I admire her. I've had
boss.
talks with George, but I really admire his wife. And
if you came to your office, they have office side by side, but you know who runs.
I love her brand, even as a person. How she's not a typical, she's not pa demure. She's like a maangas mom. She's a maangas mom. Like, I love that about her. I love her brand. I love everything, their mission, vision, everything they do. They're so real. I feel like they're just real.
Yep. Sounds good. And last but definitely not the least.
So hard.
Okay.
The last is the hardest because I have to choose the last one.
Again, but this is not again. Sorry, we only do 5 because if we do 10, then wala na. This is gonna take forever.
Yeah, I know, that's true.
Right.
So I think I guess because I have also come to know her on a closer level. So Mel Nava. So I admire her vision. I love her. So I promised myself I'll try to limit my time and on the business side to 3 things. One is the passion project, which is related to Zen mode, mental health, all that stuff, like living your best life. That's my passion project. The second is obviously Noneaway. So the third is I wanted to be able to help and support an existing founder that I believe in, and that's Mel. Yeah. So and we've gotten close also. She's met my kids, all that, and I think for me her energy alone is so positive.
Right.
And there's people you'll meet that's an energy drain. And I feel like all of us at some point in our life become
We
a
are.
toxic energy.
Mm.
But there's just some people that's just energy, positive energy. They're like energy givers.
And even if she cusses as she's doing,
And that's Mel. Like she's just an energy giver. And she's a doer.
Yeah.
Like, and we've talked about her, even like with my co-founders, like, but like before I committed to Mel on helping her, supporting her. And something we noticed with Mel, like people that are, like are still doing it on paper, even how smart they are from Ivy Leagues, whatnot. Mel has already done it. She's a doer. She doesn't talk about it. She does it. And I admire also because the industry she's in is like logistics. So it's so hard to be in that space. And I'm so proud that there's a woman founder that's doing that space.
that is amazing. Thank you so much again, Crystal, for such an amazing episode. But before I let you go, invite people over to, again, if they want to work with you, if they want to check out as an early adopter and whatnot, and Noneaway, where do they go and how do they do that?
Sure. So we initially started our page. We'd love to get signups, especially if you're a broker, licensed brokers only. So please sign up in noneaway.com. And we also have an Instagram. If you have any initial things you want to ask, suggestions. But initially at the onset, we're initially just going to work first with the brokers. We'd like to support them first because we feel that when we crack that, we're going to be able to support all the other parts of it.
I have one that I'll refer to.
Brokers are the center of all the transactions. So we want to support them first.
Again, I look forward for,
Thank you.
just looking at the team on paper and just what you've done, and again, with you leading the charge.
Nakaka-pressure, di ba? Yung
No.
kasama mo on paper, mga ganon. Parang, yun.
But it's too good to fail. So I just already know that this is going to work, and I am proud
Thank
of
you
you.
so much.
Congratulations. Again, but before I let you go, follow us on whatever podcast app you're listening to. And if you're looking at us from YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. Again, we need this also to wrap this up. And again, scale the whole thing. And again, if you want to listen to this, it's going to be in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any type of podcast. And if we did some jargon, it's going to be in the Hustleshare podcast website on hustleshare.com. And lastly, if you want to join our little community filled with our premium fans, go to premium.hustleshare.com. Again, Crystal, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Thank you so much for watching Hustleshare on YouTube. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel to get more content like this. And to get the full audio episodes of Hustleshare and Founders Only, subscribe to our podcasts at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.